Mr. Vice President, the CIA has concluded that the leader of Saudi Arabia directed the murder of U.S.-based journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The State Department also says the Saudi government is responsible for executing nonviolent offenders and for torture. President Trump has not punished senior Saudi leaders. Would you?
Yes, and I said it at the time. Khashoggi was, in fact, murdered and dismembered, and I believe in the order of the Crown Prince. And I would make it very clear, we were not going to, in fact, sell more weapons to them. We were going to, in fact, make them pay the price and make them, in fact, the pariah that they are. There's very little social redeeming value in the present government in Saudi Arabia. And I would also, as pointed out, I would end the subsidies that we have, end the sale of material to the Saudis, who they're going in and murdering children, and they're murdering innocent people. And so they have to be held accountable. And so they have to be held accountable. We were going to, in fact, make them pay the price and make them, in fact, the pariah that they are. There's very little social redeeming value in the present government in Saudi Arabia. And I would also, as pointed out, I would end the subsidies that we have, end the sale of material to the Saudis, who they're going in and murdering children, and they're murdering innocent people.
He didn't have to go to Saudi Arabia, however, to find a country that's violating human rights or a country that's opposing women, because plenty of states that we live in are doing the same thing, remove protected rights from women, disallowing them control over their bodies.
Uh-oh, retard alert! Retard alert, class!
Can states pass their own abortion laws now that Roe v. Wade has been overturned? Yes, states can pass their own abortion laws now that Roe v. Wade has been overturned. Our sources are the U.S. Constitution, the Supreme Court's opinion in Roe v. Wade, and the Supreme Court decision in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization. The ruling does not mean abortions are now illegal everywhere. Instead, states can begin enforcing their existing abortion laws or enact new ones, either protective or restrictive.
So I just want to say, you know, I think part of the big problem that we have is our own hands are dirty quite often.
Well, and let's not forget that Trump was pals with Putin and Kim Jong. He practically had them in the Lincoln bedroom. I mean...
Are you fucking retarded? The hell's the matter with you?
Nobody's been tougher on Russia than I have. And you can, and I know you're nodding yes, because everyone agrees when they think about it. There's been no president ever as tough as I have been on Russia. And I think President Putin knows that better than anybody, certainly a lot better than the media. Nobody has been tougher on Russia, but getting along with Russia would be a good thing, not a bad thing. And just about everybody agrees to that, except very stupid people.
So this is just somebody, I think, I mean, I do defend Biden quite a bit, I know, but...
No shit.
It's like, you know, if Manchin and some of these Republicans would allow the industries just cut back on fossil fuels and get alternative fuels going, he wouldn't have to, you know, fist bump this guy.
He never got a commitment from Saudi Arabia. He's been begging OPEC, begging the Saudis to produce more oil, which is dumb in and of itself because we have more energy here, gas, oil, coal, that could provide for our needs and so many other countries' needs for hundreds of years.
Who, by the way, he did say to him, I think that you were responsible for Khashoggi's death. And the guy goes, no. And he says, well, I think you have been. I mean, he did confront him.
He did not hold the kingdom accountable for the murder of U.S.-based reporter Jamal Khashoggi. There are conflicting accounts about whether the subject was even discussed, but Joe did get the fist bump with MBS, the guy that he referred to as the murderer pariah, the guy that got away with murder.
Saudi Arabia is a huge producer of oil, and we consume a lot of that oil. And so we don't want the guy to go over there, but at the same time, we want more production of oil from Saudi Arabia. That's what he went over there to do.
This was a trip that Joe Biden did not need to make. We have more than enough oil, gas, coal right in the ground, right here at home. And we could dig domestically, not rely on countries that hate our guts. But according to the religious climate alarmist cult, importing oil from Saudi Arabia, Iran, Russia, Venezuela, shipping it across the ocean is much better for Mother Earth than producing it in our own country domestically.
There's a lot of Republicans, there's a lot of Trump apologists who had no issue when Trump went to Saudi Arabia and danced with swords and posed holding the orb with the Saudis. Had no issue with that.
Right. And Donald Trump's business experience was on full display on day one of his first international high-stakes overseas trip.
The two countries signed military deals worth nearly $110 billion. Trump is also expected to give a speech on Sunday that calls on the Muslim world to unite against extremism. And
he didn't have a mask on, and he's fist bumping this guy who is clearly a murderer. And then you have, Khashoggi's widow, really fiance, who's tweeting things like, what Jamal Khashoggi would tweet today. Hey, POTUS, is this the accountability you promised for my murder? I think, again, this is a murderer. You don't normalize a murderer by this fist bump. It was the photo op that he wanted, and we've normalized these relationships.
Is he really normalizing it?
Yes,
Is everybody who has a brain looking at it and saying,
no, Joy, I think this is the rehabilitation that MBS wants, and Joe Biden gave that to him. Look at his, he's bragged about his financial relationship with Saudi Arabia. I think we have a clip of something he said at an Alabama campaign rally. Do we have
Saudi Arabia, and I get along great with all of them. They buy apartments from me, they spend $40 million, $50 million. Am I supposed to dislike them? I like them very much.
See, and in 1986, Osama bin Laden's brother, Shafia bin Laden, lived in Trump Tower. We also know that since 2016, Saudi bookings at his Chicago hotels have gone up 169%, a similar uptick in Saudi bookings in New York. So what we have to ask ourselves, I think, as Americans is, if the Saudis are intentionally lining his pockets, what do they expect in return? That is the question, and perhaps they expect to get a pass on the killing of Jamal Khashoggi.
Right. And you cannot say, as the president, I'm going to shut these doors here because I don't like these people, because you're going to have to do stuff you really don't want to do.
But
that it will remind people what our freedoms are about, so that we can give thanks for how free we are, and we can still protest and scream out loud when we see things that are wrong, because nobody needs to take this. Nobody needs to be quiet about this. If this happens here, it's going to happen over here, and pretty soon it's going to be happening right there.
This motherfucker's a retard.